Board, Downsville Park District order. Meeting, could roll call, please.
Mr. Bender.
Here.
Mr. Dahlstrom.
Here.
Mr. Kattula.
I'm here.
Mr. Lunt.
Here.
Ms. McDonald.
Here. Thank you. Next item, as we routinely do or certainly have done, is we're going to do the next item is our Pledge of Allegiance. I invite everyone who'd like to join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just the removal of item A5.
On to communications.
Yes, we have who else with us tonight? Who would like to go first?
Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. As some of you may or may not know, my name is Eagle Penovic. I'm a longtime, actually former resident of Downers Grove. I'm 16 years old and I currently go to Downers Grove High School and I'm a junior. A few things about my experience with scouting. I've been in for more than 5 years at this point, and I am currently working towards my Eagle Scout achievement, as is known. I'm an Order of the Arrow member. And currently, my project with the Park District, as I understand, I'm going to be making 12 bat racks. And that's going to involve cutting, measuring, designing, all the sorts. I've gotten most of the details ready, and I'm currently just waiting on the appropriate sign-offs to begin my project.
Good. Do we know where the racks are to be placed?
We do. It's Dorhofer, Randall. Yeah, so there's probably the larger parks.
Yes, right. Got it. When are you starting, or have you officially started?
I am currently in the planning stage of my project. I'm soon to exit, and my target date for ending my project, or completing it, I should say, is the end of June. So around June 30th before I leave for New Mexico, or should it need to be pushed back, I plan on completing it mid-July. As I said, though, yes, I'm currently starting to work on beginning my project, and I'm just gathering the appropriate approval.
Got it.
So are there a number of bats already in Downers Grove, or are you hoping to attract bats?
Well, I would just hope that there are appropriate number, there's an appropriate number of bats, so my bat racks may be utilized. And I hope that it's an accommodation that would prove useful to at least some people.
Look forward to seeing the finished product. You're gonna come back and show us?
Of course, yeah. If I am able, I will definitely come back to the Park District and I will have a compilation, if you all would like, of my finished product. I will try to include photos of the in progress and completed work. So you guys can touch up on what I've done for the project, how I did it, and what the end result is.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's the oh, sure. There's two companies, two images and the packet as well. So the packet has all the information, the specifics, and then the images are just as aids, visual aids for the presentation. Well, my name is Anthony Barrica. I'm from Troop 10 Hinsdale. And so I've been in scouting for nearly 6 years. And as previously explained, so an Eagle project is a service project meant for the community and is done through several volunteers, through scouting troops, through family, friends, things like that. So what my project is an insect hotel for Lyman Woods Park District. And so what this project does is it attracts insects already existing in Lyman Woods and tries to have like a habitat for these insects. So my project will be shaped like the Willis Sears Tower. It's around 6 to 8 feet tall, without the antennas. And within each of the 9 columns, there are small compartments, almost like shelves, where materials for specific bugs will be placed there. And most of the structure itself will be made out of red cedar planks and normal screws. So that's the majority of the project. That's what it's going to be made of. And again, each of the 9, because the Sears Tower is made up of around 9 columns, each of those will be divided with shelves. And each type of species will have their own section with the appropriate materials. Just a rough overview of how it will be created. Each of the middle side columns, which are 4 of them, will be created individually, then attached. There's like a picture of that on one of the packets. And once those 4 columns are attached, it's really just a question of adding 4 planks to make the corners, adding the roofs, and then adding the rest of the material to the structure. And then for weathering, there's going to be small squares of metal sheet metal that will be slanted slightly to push out rain precipitation, and then as well as that a non-toxic weather sealant will be placed on the entire tower just to make sure that it lasts for several seasons. And once the structure is created and all the materials are added, there'll be a foundation, which will be a red cedar box filled with gravel. That'll keep the center of gravity very low, and then obviously the necessary decorations to make it look as much like a Willis or Sears Tower as possible.
That sounds really neat. What kind of insects are we attracting?
Yeah, so it's a variety of species, things like lacewings, bees, all things that are already existing in Lyman Woods, moths. There's more detail in the packet as well, but there's like at least a dozen insects. And that actually, the specific insects, I contacted Mr. Maywin, the beneficiary at Lyman Woods Park District, and he gave me a list of all the specific insects. And then I planned the materials, did some research, planned the materials for them accordingly. Yeah.
And then do we know where this is residing within the park?
Yeah, so it's behind one of the existing pollinator gardens. It's pretty close to it. And this is like when you enter the park district, go on like the trail, it's really close off the beginning of the trail.
Towards the
Take a
front.
left, and
Yeah.
you walk there, yeah.
So people can really see it from the front. I think the Willis Tower idea is really a cool idea.
Yeah.
Is it something that has to be like added to every year then? Like somebody's gotta go and add stuff that attracts the insects?
Yeah, so I talked to Mr. Maywin about that, and he mentioned that he would replace the materials on a year-by-year basis. And then also, I didn't mention this, but because a lot of the materials are very light, to keep them close to the tower, not falling out of the shelves, there'd be like a chicken wire mesh over them, and then something like a nail or screw that could be relatively easily removed. So when you just remove the chicken wire, replace with the materials, and they won't fall out.
Or the same completion?
Where'd you come up with this idea?
So I heard from a lot of people in my troop have had Mr. Maywin as a beneficiary, and they said, like it's because one big thing for your Eagle project, if you don't have a beneficiary that's good with like communication stuff, it makes things last long. But they said Mr. Maywin was really great, and he has a lot of project ideas, which makes like thinking of them really easy because I couldn't think of it. So I scheduled a meeting with him, went to Lyman Woods. We talked, he gave me a couple options. He gave me a packet actually, like all these options for Eagle projects, potentially Eagle like projects he could have had done. And then one of them was an insects hotel. And he said, it'd be cool if it was themed like some Chicago landmarks. And then so kind of the Willis Tower, because it's pretty geometric rather than doing like the bean, that'd be impossible. He was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And, that's how I got the idea.
Nice.
Very good project.
I'm finding this very personally informative. So this is one that's there now. This isn't what you're building, right? That's just an example.
That was, I'm gonna be honest, with you, that was like the second Google search for insect hotel. That's just actually from, it's just
I was just,
Refinement was the other, like on Tuesday, and I didn't know what it was until you just.
yeah, that's just like a generic insect hotel.
Yeah.
It was bugging, right?
It was bugging me all week.
well, thank you.
Thank you.
Over to here.
Any written correspondence?
No.
If not, then consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a number of items for your consideration under consent this evening. Approval of minutes, April 3rd, 2025, regular and closed session minutes, treasurer's report, investments, payment of bills in the amount of $579,939.86. Approval of a contract with Pepsi, approval of disposal ordinance 1337, an ordinance declaring certain park district personnel property and gas surplus, and authorizing sale or disposal, and approval of employment agreement amendment effective June 1st, 2025, between the Downers Grove Park District and William G. McAdam.
Questions, any?
No questions.
Questions or comments?
Someone care to make a motion?
I'll move for the adoption of the consent agenda as read into the record.
Second.
Second,
Another
we have a roll.
call, please.
Mr. Bender,
Aye.
Mr. Lot,
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom.
Aye.
Mr. Katsula.
Aye.
Ms. McDonald.
Aye.
Carries. Action items.
First one is acceptance of the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, and I will turn it over to Trish.
Good evening. I think I say every year that the audit is my favorite time of year. That still holds true. This was our 8th audit completed with sickage. I would be remiss in saying that I felt like I was traveling back to the COVID days, as both I was working from home sick that week, and Kellen also was battling sickness with his family, so he was at home. We had one staff from sickage, Gabby. She was working remote from Hawaii, so that was exciting. We have our partner, Jim Savio, and then we had another staff, and his name was Sam. Our finance employees, Linda Shear and Laura Williams, did a phenomenal job this year. They really took control and were diligent with responding to all of the auditor's requests timely to keep the process moving, so there was no issues there. I would say it was another solid audit. You may have seen in the management, like the board communications packet, that there was one adjusting entry. That entry related to the $200,000 grant that was awarded in the summer. We recorded it based on it being awarded. However, we had to unrecord it for year-end purposes just because we did not have the grant agreement officially signed. Paul has since really been working with the state on that, and that is now moving through. So that should definitely be completed this year in 2025, which is exciting. Kellen O'Malley, who is a director from Sickage, who I've worked with very closely, is on tonight. He is here to present you guys the audit and will also be able to answer any questions that you guys may have. I did ask Kellen if any of you are looking at the audit electronically to give PDF page numbers. If you're looking at it via the paper copy, I also asked him to give the paper copy page numbers to help make things easier to follow along. And I believe he's going to share his screen as well. But we know it's a little small on the screen. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kellen, and welcome to the board meeting, and it's all yours.
Thank you very much. First off, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. As Trish said, my name's Kellen O'Malley. I'm a director at Sickage. It's a pleasure working with the district every year, and I appreciate you having me here tonight to present. If it's helpful, as Trish mentioned, I will share my screen so you can follow along. Can you see that?
We are not seeing it yet.
Let's try again. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So this year's audit is for the calendar year, December 31st, 2024. As part of our audit, we issued 3 reports: the annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR, a board communication report, and a consolidated year-end financial report, or CIFR. You'll hear me refer to that as. The board report includes any required communication with those charged with governance, and the CIFR report is required by the state if the district expends over 300,000 in any given year in grant money, which the district did this year, and therefore triggered this report to be prepared. I'll focus on the ACFR for tonight's presentation, but if you have any questions about any of the other reports, I'm happy to answer those. I always like to refer readers to the table of contents and just give a brief intro over what is included in the ACFR. The ACFR is split into 3 sections: the introductory section, the financial section, and the statistical section. The introductory section and the statistical section are the 2 sections that make this a comprehensive financial report. Within the introductory section is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellent in Financial Reporting. This is an award that's provided by GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association. This is the 40th year that the district has received this award. It's the award on the December 31st, 2023 report, and the district will be going for their 41st award this year. The financial section begins with the independent auditor's report and a new opinion this year on the governmental auditing standards that also relates to the grant, the expenditures that the district have. Those are our opinions on the report, and I'll cover those briefly in a minute. Following the independent auditor's report is the management's discussion and analysis. The MD&A is an executive summary, and it provides good comparative data for year over year and why things went up or down. If you're going to read one section in the report, we highly recommend that you read the MD&A, as it's going to provide you a good summary of why things have changed during the year. Following the MD&A is the basic financial statements, which includes the government-wide financial statements as well as the fund financial statements. The government-wide financial statements are on a long-term focus. These are the consolidated financial statements of the district. It has all funds included in them and includes long-term activities such as capital assets and long-term debt. The fund financial statements are split between the individual funds at the district. It presents major and non-major funds. Your major funds having the ones with the most activity. Following the also included in the basic financial statements is the proprietary fund financial statements, which is the golf course financial statements. Those are on pages 14 through 18. There's also required supplementary information included in the report. This is budget versus actual schedules for the general fund, recreation fund, as well as schedules and additional information on the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund and the the OPEB plan, which is the other post-employment benefit plan. The combining and individual fund financial statements include budget versus actual schedules for all the other district's funds, as well as combining schedules for any non-major funds that the district has. There's also some schedules on long-term debt that are included as supplemental data. Lastly, as I mentioned before, there's a statistical section included. The statistical section is broken up into 5 categories. It presents 10 years of data and is good for reviewing for trends over the past 10 years. On page 1 of the ACFR, if you're looking at the hard copy, and page 29 of the PDF, if you're looking at the PDF number, is our independent auditors report. This is our opinion on the financial statements. In order to issue an opinion on the financial statements, we need to follow 2 sets of standards, auditing standards issued by the AICPA, which is the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. These standards tell us what types of procedures we need to follow as we're conducting our audit. And then we also follow standards set by GASB, which is the Government Accounting Standards Board. And GASB sets the rules for financial reports for local governments, such as the district. I'm pleased to present an unmodified opinion, which is a clean, referred to as a clean opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that we can provide on the district's financial statements, that they're presented fairly in accordance with those standards. You'll see that there's also a change in accounting principle paragraph at the bottom of the page. The district implemented a new accounting standard this year, which changed some of the guidance related to compensated absences. You can find more information on that within the notes to the financial statements. On the last page of our independent auditors report, I just want to point out that there's a paragraph related to other governmental auditing standards. This is making reference to the opinion that's on the following page, as well as the cipher report that we issued. On page 5 of the hard copy and page 33 of the PDF is the other opinion that we issued in accordance with governmental auditing standards. As I noted, this is an opinion that was required due to the level of grant funding that the district had this year. It's an opinion on internal controls over financial reporting. As part of our opinion, we did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies at the district, and we did not identify any instances of non-compliance with legal or any other grant regulations. On page 12 of the hard copy and page 64 of the PDF is the statement of changes, statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for governmental funds. This is essentially an income statement, if you're familiar with corporate terms for financial statements. It presents the revenues and expenditures for the district for the period. The general fund had a net increase in fund balance this year of $188,000 and an ending fund balance of $2,371,000. That represents about 50% of current year expenditures, or is about equivalent of about a 6-month reserve. This statement also includes other major funds, which are for the district is the recreation fund and the capital fund, and all other non-major funds are included and totaled in the non-major fund column. The non-major fund detail can also be found further back in the report in the supplementary info that I mentioned on the table of contents earlier. On page 16 of the hard copy and page 68 of the PDF is the golf course fund statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. The golf course had a operating income of $823,000 this year. There was a change in accounting principle that I mentioned earlier related to compensated absences. And the ending net position for the golf course fund was just over $5 million. Lastly, I'd just like to point out a couple things in the report related to IMRF. On page 55 of the hard copy or page 108 of the PDF, you find the schedule of employer contributions for IMRF. This shows you what the district has contributed for the last 10 years to IMRF. And it shows you that the district has contributed exactly what they have been required through the actuarial determined contribution for each year, as there's no deficiency or excess for the last 10 years. IMRF does an actuarial evaluation each calendar year, and the most recent valuation available was as of December 31st, 2023. And this valuation showed that the district was 91.9% funded as of December 31st, 2023. That's all I was going to cover within the ACFR report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on the report and or any of the other reports we issued. But first, I just want to lastly thank you, Trish, and the district for making this another great audit process. The district truly does an amazing job. I mean, it's a testament to us completing the audit presentation by mid-April, which is definitely a hefty goal, and the district had no issues with doing that. So thank you again, and happy to answer any questions.
No questions. Sounds like we're doing the right thing. Congratulations, Trish. It looks like all of our policies, procedures, accounting principles are right in line with everything. So good job to you and your team. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations on getting a clean bill like this, and then to everybody who helped make that happen. Also want to say I appreciate the PDF page numbers. This was the best audit presentation that I've seen since becoming a board member, because it was the first one I could follow. Thank you very much for thinking of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Take care.
Number 2.
You would need to
We're gonna
do a motion and a second for acceptance. You don't actually approve it, but you're accepting it.
and that's
Yeah, if I get it. I'll move to accept the annual comprehensive financial audits for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024.
I think Sandra should second it. It's her way.
I'll second it.
if we move in second. Another discussion. With roll call, please.
Mr. Bender,
Aye.
Ms. McDonald. Aye. Mr. Dahlstrom.
Aye.
Mr. Kattula. Mr. Lund.
Aye.
Now we'll move on to action item number 2. Bill.
Thanks. We're seeking a motion and second for approval to trade in the John Deere 1600 mower and purchase 2 John Deere 72-inch zero-turn mowers, as well as the purchase of the Frontier 93-inch rototiller. And I'm going to turn that over to Kevin to give a little, I know we have a memo in there, but a little background on that.
Sure. So this was, as Trish had mentioned, COVID again, but so I'm going to mention it again as well. So this was part of that where we had some supply chain issues, and usually we would go with a Toro wide area mower, and we decided we demoed this John Deere 1600, and it was in the fall of 2022. The grass wasn't very thick. And then when we started using it, we noticed that as we were cutting, it was leaving windrows and just clumping grass, and it wasn't cutting up to our expectations. So we were working for almost 2 years working with John Deere, trying to figure out, can we make this thing work? And we're to the point now that staff is just at their wits' end and they want something a little bit more efficient. So we're looking to trade this in and purchase the two 72-inch zero turns with the 93-inch rototiller. The 93-inch rototiller would allow us to till all of Marduk Farm, as we had a resident, mention, about some of the I guess the garden plots and I think this will do a nicer job with tilling them and yeah, I think this and along with we'll be able to give up the contract we pay someone to till those every year for $1,400 as well. So this will allow us to do it in-house. So we're looking for authorization to, as Bill had mentioned, to trade in the John Deere 1600, purchase two of the 72-inch zero-turn mowers, as well as purchase the Frontier 93-inch rototiller.
Sure, I'll move that the board approval to proceed with the trade-in of the John Deere 1600 purchase of two John Deere 72-inch zero-turn mowers, as well as the purchase of the Frontier 93-inch rototiller.
Second.
Second.
Other discussion, could roll call?
Ms. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Kattula?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Aye. Kevin, just a quick question.
Yeah.
Are we gonna store the rototiller at the administration building?
Yes.
Kevin, after reading this, are we okay with the rest of the fleet? Is,
We are. The good news is we have three wide area mowers. So we have two and then we have a backup. So we're gonna station the backup down at McCollum so that in a pinch they could use it, as well. So but we needed more zero turns to for trim mowing and things like that. We're short on those. So.
no, they're not cheap.
No, they're not. Seems like everything is gone up by 30-40% in the past 5 years.
The reason why I was asking, we're gonna start working on the budget. Should we be looking at replacing some of the out-of-date inventory and asset management that, are we at that point now where we should be starting phasing some of the?
Kevin has a comprehensive replacement
Yeah,
schedule
yeah.
that we review with the board every year, and
Right.
Kevin and Trish review that on an ongoing basis. So we try to keep it so the fleet doesn't get to the point that they're falling apart and we're trying to replace things on the fly.
We are up to date on that. I know Craig and I have had some talks and so has Trish. That number's been $250 a year for a number of years.
Yeah.
Right.
Likely in the next year or two, we'll probably have to sit up to 300, just as Kevin had spoke on how much prices have come up on a lot of the equipment.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
So I'm actually gonna slip in here under board business. Former board president Kathy Mahoney would like to address the board. You need to turn your volume on.
Yeah.
Make her face.
Unmute.
I'm having technical difficulties maximizing.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, it still is good to see you all. However, I am not necessarily missing going to the meeting. But I just wanted to join in tonight to say thank you to Sandra for her commitment to the board and the park district as a whole. I sort of, in the beginning, talked her into running, and she has shown that she was more than capable. Her knowledge and understanding of things and an ability to bring really good comments so that we can all think of how this would affect everyone in the community. So like I said, I just wanted to thank her for her time. And I know she will be moving on to some very other cool things to do. So congratulations on your time with the Park District, Sandra.
Thank you, Kathy. And you realize they made your face huge, just so you know.
Why I appreciate that, I think, I don't know. My
Yeah.
face on my screen is very teeny tiny, so maybe that would be better.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for making the time. So we can do that. Appreciate it.
And unfortunately, I will not be in town for the next meeting, but I will try to join in then too. As I texted Dawn, sometimes this time change, the time difference still catches me off guard, and I think of something and it's like, oh shit, it's 2 hours later there. So I will try to pop in at the next meeting also.
Thank you, Kathy. Well, as Kathy mentioned, we're actually all very thankful for your work and your 8 years of commitment to the Park District. So we have appreciation. I'll read it here. It's an appreciation for your service and dedication to the Park Board of the Downsville Park District. Sandra McDonald, Commissioner from 2017 to 2025.
Well, thank you so much. Great, you never thought would happen, right?
Yes.
I do have a couple of things to say that. It's in large type, so I promise it's not long. Well, I really just wanted to take a few minutes to express my gratitude at being part of the Downers Grove Park Board for the past 8 years, and my gratitude to Kathy for suggesting that I do this, because I have always, my family's always loved the parks. We've always been participants, and this just seemed a really great way to give back to the community. And so kind of an astounding measure of those 8 years is that when I started on the board, I still had a son in high school. He has since finished high school, finished college, gone on to a career, gone back to grad school. So it's easy to mark the passage of time via that. But then when I started thinking about what happened here in the past 8 years, I had to ask Dawn. This time goes so fast. So when I started in 2017, it was the year that the link, the before and after school programs just started. And we were just getting rolling on master plan 1.0. Then 2018 saw the new synthetic turf at Dorhofer, specifically the grand opening of the driving range shelter, which has been a literal game changer, in so many ways for the golf course and for the community. 2019 saw the redesign and refinishing of the rec center parking lot with pathway and a soft opening of the restored interior of the 1846 Pioneer Blodgett House. And then it's 2020. And I'm going to be the third person to because 2020 was a year that so many of us would like to forget, but I also feel as if it was an inflection point. When everything else shut down and we had to practice social distancing between ourselves and the rest of the world, rather than shuttering itself and riding the storm out, the Park District came to life. And so there were outdoor movies, there were increased outdoor education programs, there was golf course, the driving range, and so much creativity and so much positive energy that it was exactly what the community needed. So thinking about that time and thinking about the creativity and the leadership of the entire staff, especially Dawn and her team, makes what could have been a hard year instead of fun and indeed an alternative to watching Netflix on the couch. And as we know, that momentum has continued to encourage the community to get outside and play. So then 2021 saw the 75th anniversary of the Park District. Plans for Walnut Park to start to take shape. 2022 saw groundbreaking on the COVID delayed McCollum Spray Ground. Walnut Park was renamed to honor past board commissioner Bob Gelwicks. We saw the rebranding of the Belmont Golf Club in honor of its 130th anniversary. 2023 saw the progression of the McCollum Park Spray Ground and Adventure Falls rebranding. 2024 saw the development and completion of Master Plan 2.0 and Constitution Park renovation and the long-awaited Adventure Falls grand. Now, 2025 has just begun, but will be highlighted by the May celebration of the renaming of the Recreation Center to the Kathy Mahoney Recreation Center, and the sign looks amazing. So excited to be able to see that come through. And in this time, tens of thousands of basketball, soccer, tennis, and now pickleball games have been played by tens of thousands of young people, adults, families, and seniors who have been served by the ever-expanding range of programming. And I've been honored to be part of these milestones and be part of a community resource that gives people a chance to play. I'm grateful to have worked with 8 different commissioners in a creative, hardworking, dedicated, and responsive team led by Bill. Sometimes when you're working, I've told this to Bill, sometimes when you're working with an entity, the closer that you get to it, the more you see like that, the bad underbelly. But this time, the closer I got to an entity, the more I got to know it, the more I loved it. And it has been that case for the time that I've spent on the board. And I'm so pleased that Kathy invited me to do this. I'm so pleased to have done this, so pleased to have been a part of this. And I wish you all the best going forward, because I know there's just, continue to be good things to come. So thank you.
Would it still be Commissioner? Oh, yeah.
No, this, well, we appreciate your time here on the board. And I certainly appreciate the interest you've shown in green initiatives and also support of staff. I'm sure everyone has noticed that as well. So thank you for a great 8 years.
And also thank you to Joe for letting me
Refer to us for
all this time.
First and Thursday night, first and third Thursday, yeah.
So I have a comment, but it's in the form of a question. You recapped your 8 years with the Downers Grove Park District. And many momentous occasions, not only for the board, but also certainly for the staff. I'm curious to know, what is your proudest moment?
Well, that's it. I think my proudest moment is really just being part of something that just continues to get better. I think, like I said, I think COVID was such a turning point.
Yeah.
And I think, so many things just rolled over and died. And I think that this park district is such a force of good in the community and so well respected and, well cared for and, it goes from all the staff, well thought out, et cetera. I think just being part of it is kind of proudest moment.
Thanks. I figured you'd have a hard time choosing.
I really, I looked at it and I think, I'm all of it, really. I just, it's nice to be able to drive through the community and, see all of the fruits of everybody's efforts, and truly knowing like how many people come up to me and say how much they love the park and it's nice to be part of it.
Any other commissioner comments?
Move on. Staff reports.
Thanks. These days, most of my report is folded into the deputy director report, so I'll leave a lot of that, but I'd like to echo the thanks to Trish and her team once again. It's not a lot of districts that have audits year after year that have no recommendations and changes. So just kudos to Trish and her team for doing that. And then something that is in the deputy director report that I just want to point out a little bit is talked about the ProConnect program, which is the IPRA program that's designed to bring entry-level professionals, mid-level professionals, and seasoned professionals together as a group for mentoring that frankly goes all different ways. And we all learn from that. And Dave Herring is in his 7th time doing this, which really doesn't tell the full story. Dave has a very long legacy of mentoring professionals in the field, all the way back to his days in Schaumburg with interns. When intern programs used to be a lot stronger, we would walk around conference and he goes, "Oh, that was an intern of mine. That was an intern of mine. That was an intern of mine." And they come up to him too. So I just wanted to congratulate Dave for everything that he's brought to the field through the mentoring program, and just kudos to that.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions. Sure.
Well, I'm glad I read this month's Illinois Parks and Recreation magazine, and I saw IAPD notable board members, and recognized in there was.
Thank you.
Part of your program for. Tell me about it.
Well, that's actually Bill had talked about it and the board member certification program. So I got involved, and thanks to Bill and the staff, and it's been rewarding, and it keeps you up on the happenings. And for a newer board member, it's been a lifelong. You want me to autograph that for you?
Thank you for your time in doing that and your dedication.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Nothing else, then we'll.
Deputy Director.
Thank you. I have a few things. I also want to echo Trish. I just want to point out that she mentioned the one entry that had to be made for this audit. Historically, anything like a half dozen to 10 entries is the fact that she's picking on herself for one entry. I got to hear about it for the week for the audit, so I just want to let her and allow the board to understand that that is an incredible thing to have only one entry found by the auditors. Jumping in some of my stuff. I have a couple different manuals mentioned in this board report. One of them is the Board of Commissioners manual. A couple board members had talked about that. I know Craig was one of them. I've been working with a number of people and took a couple different formats to it. Took some of our old language, our new language, some IAPD recommendations, and kind of recreated that. That's something we look to bring at the May board meeting to talk to with the board about, because there are a couple of new things that we'll have to get some direction from the board as to how they want to go with those different areas of the board manual. The second one is the administrative manual. That is more of an internal document, but beneficial to us. Board member Bender did offer some recommendations on some language, so we appreciate that. And we're working to update some of the language, add to it, and we'll bring that back to the board at a future meeting also. The two events I wanted to highlight over the recent weeks. I stopped by the Easter egg hunt on Saturday. I missed the actual hunt, but I caught the bunny. That was fun. We had over 160 children that had a blast. I heard tales of dozens of Easter eggs in some of their bags. And with all of our events lately, we had a bouncy house, we had some balloon animals, a lot of extra stuff for people to do. So the rec staff did a great job with that. Dawn's team had a number of sponsors out there. One that even brought coffee for the parents, which was, I'm sure, very appreciated by those individuals. The last item is tonight's our adult Easter egg hunt out at the library. I was actually informed that this got some discussion on ABC News this morning. And was talked about. We have about 43, 44 participants. Actually, Michelle was over help setting up. We have a number of eggs with candy, some with numbers, where people will be able to pick out prizes that have been donated from the local businesses and such. So that seems to be a very good balance of events for both our kids and our adults, and I'm sure they'll all have a great time. If there's any other questions in that report, I'd be happy to answer them.
Couple of questions I was looking at the villages ordinances online this week. At things, and they have a wonderful searchable online ordinance program. I feel like it's been a while since we've heard an update on whether we're gonna be able to get our ordinances online in a searchable fashion.
A lot of them are.
A lot of them are. I was just looking at our website, couldn't find them.
You could go to the search button. Or you could go, you internally, where you're at, you have to go to library documents and under ordinances, there's all ordinances and resolutions. If you wanna,
Dean, you're talking about it's attached to the diligent, correct? So it's part of the
It's
diligent.
on our website, like the public can't see it.
Yeah, it's on there.
public can see some, yes. If you search. I'm logged in, but I'm not gonna be able to do it. But you are able to go to the website, and when you go to About Us under the meeting portal, you'll see our webpage. And then if you go to the search button, you would be able to find the ordinances there.
So I don't think that anybody who's searching for ordinances is going to be like, oh, meeting portal, that's where ordinances be. I know I didn't.
You could create a direct link on
We
the
could-
web. Create,
There could do that.
actually make another box on the bottom where it says ordinances, where if you click on that, it will take you to all the ordinances on there. This is still a work in progress. We've been having a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just in district administration.
It's 100%.
That's, I look to About Us. District information, you know, I look at these sorts of sites all the time, it's kind of where it is. Never occurred.
Yeah, we can do that.
Board meeting.
But yeah, I think it's just because it's the power behind it is through diligent, which has not been the smoothest.
But if you were specifically looking for any board member, anybody that has diligent, you could log in and go to your library and the ordinances will all be in there with resolutions. Past minutes, there's a whole list of things, like how we used to have in board pack. The list of everything that you could, that is searchable. That you could view.
Okay, yeah, oh,
And if you want to come in the office, I could walk you through all of it.
yeah, I was hoping it'd be easy enough to use that anybody at home could use it. I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I don't know where it is.
We can figure out a link, make it a little.
Yeah, we could put it right onto. Yeah,
Thank you.
but there's another thing on there too, where it says, it does say document library. On the website. When you go to the meeting portal.
Oh.
There should be on the main page, it will say, welcome, document library, get notified. So I just added it on there, ordinances. And then the DGB, the website. So if you clicked onto the document library,
Where's the,
like, I think because I'm signed in, that's probably why
where's the document library?
I have to log back out, sorry.
3 little books on the left hand side. In diligent,
No, in diligent.
yeah.
Brent's talking about DG Park.
Yeah, I'm going to DG Parks because that's what I.
Yeah.
It's on DG Parks, it's on.
Under Parks and
on our-
Facilities.
It's on our website. But when you are on our website, you go to About Us.
It's
and
about-
go-
About parts of it's built right.
Yeah, general.
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, we'll,
Board meeting
Well,
portal.
it's an easy
we know, it's easy fit. We know what we're
you're
doing.
saying.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I was-
yeah, it's, yeah.
And then the other thing that was on my mind. You know, last year. We expressed some reservations about the affiliate agreement, but it was like too late to renegotiate stuff and. We talked about getting that started earlier. Were we anywhere with
So I mentioned it in here. We plan on bringing some discussion to the board at either the May or June meeting. We'll go over the fees, requirements, the parks that are used, the maintenance that they ask for, how we do the maintenance standards. That's all being pulled together as we speak.
Sorry, to get to the reports and speakers. My Tuesday night to do some notes.
The only other question that I had, I know the commissioners have talked about the expansion of the unincorporated areas. Where are we at with that? Are we still planning on moving?
Yeah, we're still planning on moving forward, but we haven't been able to do anything with it, right?
Okay, perfect.
But it's on my list. It's on my desk.
Anything else for Eric? No, get on to recreation.
Thank you. Couple charts there you'll see on the report. Again, and so for camp, you look at that, at the end of March of 25, we are about 200 participants ahead of last year at the same point for 24. So very pleased about that. Our youth athletic leagues continue to grow. We're over 2,100 for this spring. We were just over 2,000 for last year. On the second page, there's another chart. So the first day of registration, so that is our summer registration for residents, and then for camps, and then non-residents. So you can see we brought in $492,000 this year compared to $473,000 last year. So we are in good shape, and the numbers continue to grow. I also wanted to point out, we've already exceeded the number of families we've approved for financial aid. We're at 22. Actually, we're at 24 now. I've approved a couple since this report was written. So we've already exceeded our total for 20. So that's great that more people are taking advantage. As Eric mentioned, our adult egg hunt is in process right now. It was from 7 to 9 tonight. So they're hunting right now as we speak. And then as the board is aware, we have a vacant position. One of our rec supervisor positions is open, and I will let Michelle update you on that.
Had an open rec supervisor position since early January. After a long search, we are excited to announce we have someone starting on May 12th. Her name is Sarah Blazer, and she actually used to work for us part-time a couple of years ago at Lyman Woods as an assistant naturalist. So out there, she helped with summer camps and birthday parties and a lot of those awesome Lyman Woods programs you see, she actually helped write. She left us to get a full-time job at Brookfield Zoo, doing as a program coordinator for the Hamel Family Play Zoo area. So she was very excited to come back to us. She's going to be doing our youth general interest programs, birthday parties, our dance program, some of the camps, so our kinder camp and some of the adventure camps, and then special events.
I can answer any other questions if there are. Fitness, okay. Well, I think the big thing under fitness is overall, our number of members continue to grow. Not just total members, but our paid and full members grow. And you'll notice that, as has been mentioned before, we do have an older base of members. The insurance memberships continue to grow, and that's just a trend. We have gone from 923 insurance members in March of 23 to over 1,700 in March of 25. So that's a 46% increase since 23. And we anticipate that trend is going to continue. The biggest thing I wanted to highlight was the member appreciation week that we did for the members. A lot of giveaways, but also during that week, there were some promotions. We did bring in, between group exercise promotions and personal training, over $9,800 in 1 week based on those promotions. So again, the reception from the members was very positive about that week. But we're thrilled to continue to bring in more revenue and enhance our programs. So I can answer any fitness questions if there are any. The thing to remember with golf is when you look at the numbers, yes, we are down compared to 24, but that's because we opened in February. We're still very pleased that we did 1,700 rounds in this March. There is a chart in there that shows the amount of rounds for the last 5 years in March. You can see this year we hit 1,700. If you compare that to 23 and 22, we had 529 and we only had 1,300 in 2022, but yet we still exceeded 42,000 rounds each of those years. So,
Ken's very positive. If the weather, it's all weather dependent at the course, obviously. But we'll, if all goes well, we'll be high 40,000 rounds again. And I can answer any other golf questions if there are any. Thank you.
On the marketing.
So as we talked about a little bit earlier, we have the Kathy Mahoney Recreation Center celebration coming up. So that will be Friday, May 30th at 3 p.m. It'll be held outdoors, right in front of the building here at the entrance, and then we'll do refreshments down here following our speakers. And the invitations have been put in the mail. So it's a nice turnout. You guys should have copies. So that's in progress. We are also planning for the Parks Day at the Capitol. So we will be hosting a display at that celebration on Tuesday, April 29th from 10 to 2 at the state capitol. Our table will be highlighting Constitution Park, playground improvements there, and then the upcoming improvements at McCollum Park. And then coming up with my team and Kevin's team, we're hosting the Earth Week Volunteer Cleanup Day. We're doing 3 park locations this year. So we're doing Fishel Park, Lloyd Park, and Whitlock Park on Saturday, April 26th. So we'll be mulching trees and cleaning up litter and just getting those parks looking pretty for the spring. We currently have 20 volunteers signed up for that, and usually we'll have a lot of last minute signups, so we should have a good crowd for that. And then lots of summer promotions going on right now, promoting the golf course, the spray ground, summer camp, and the concert series. So you'll be seeing lots of print ads and digital ads promoting those opportunities. And then lastly, sponsorship and advertising is moving right along. We've got a lot of new sponsors signing up right now. Our Lunch and Learn sponsors have helped us to really grow that program. On Monday, we had the Lunch and Learn was sold out with 61 participants, which is just super awesome. And the May Lunch and Learn is also already sold out. So Advocate Healthcare has been a huge partner for that program. And then lastly, we've just got a lot of in-kind sponsors that are helping us out with the parties in the park. And then Marie is working on a program in May for National Senior Health and Fitness Day. So we'll have a few sponsors to help out with that really fun event. So other than that, are there any questions for me?
Questions for me? Thank you, Don. Planning and construction.
Thank you. Few updates this evening. We actually just opened bids today for our Lyman Woods boardwalk replacement. Good news, we had 3 bids, and our low bidder is a contractor that we've worked with in the past that we've been very happy with, and the bids we should be well within budget. So we'll be bringing those bids to the next regular meeting in May, the May 15th board meeting for approval. Also related to Lyman Woods, we have received proposals for our Lyman Woods master plan. Received 4 proposals. Staff is in the process of reviewing those. We will be conducting first round interviews next week with each of the firms, and then we plan to select 2 finalists that will come to the May 15th board meeting, 2 firms to present to the park board. And then I also wanted to give an update on Hummer Park, some conversations that Bill and I have been having with the village on a possible detention facility at Hummer. I'm going to share my screen real quick here. So here we see Hummer Park. We're going to be talking about the south half of the park where the creek comes through the park that will be essentially excavated out for a detention facility. We talked about before, we previously had ice skating at this southwest corner of the park. So what the village is looking to do is they're going to be putting in a larger culvert under Fairview Avenue there on the left side of the park. And they need a place also for water to pond. They're trying to eliminate water after a heavy storm coming up over Fairview Avenue and actually stopping traffic, blocking traffic on Fairview Avenue. So that's the goal of the project. And then Bill and I had a meeting with the village in late March, where they had their engineering consultants present to us, show us a concept for how they would do the detention facility there. I know it's hard to see here on this screen, but essentially on both sides of the creek here and also here, both sides of the creek, all of that area would be lowered, essentially excavated down a few feet to provide stormwater detention. The difference with Hummer versus some of them, we've worked with the village on a couple of other facilities at Washington Park, which has a softball field on it and a soccer field. And then at McCollum Park, the big basin that has a soccer field, is that here we're not, we don't have ball fields. And so it's a little bit different. In some cases here, it would more likely be more like a natural appearance, maybe native grasses, naturalized appearance. We've asked the village, we've specified that we still expect that the areas north of the creek, despite being a detention basin, would still be usable park space. So we want those areas because we do have some programs, camps, things like that, that we use that part of the park for. So we have that expectation. Whereas the south of the creek, an area that we don't currently use for any programming, and it's actually very difficult to access. We don't have any pathways or any access to it. Could be more naturalized kind of wetland plantings and native plantings and that sort of thing. The one kind of major design feature that I wanted to point out was that they're proposing, currently you enter the park from the south off of Sheldon Avenue. This driveway here, that they're looking to actually remove that driveway so that they can excavate and again provide more detention, and instead relocate the entrance into the park directly off of Fairview Avenue, would come into the north parking lot. So they would line it up with the street, Wilson Street there, that intersect would create from that intersection. And so they would relocate that entrance drive. That allows them to excavate all of what is currently the driveway and have more detention there.
They're planning to put a stoplight there.
They would not. They would not. The good news is it's at that location, they would be able to have full access. You could turn left out of the entrance there as opposed to, sometimes they'll make it's a right turn only when you're exiting. But at this location, because there is a street across from it, they're able that cars would be able to turn left exiting the park it'd be a full width driveway essentially.
Where you come out, you're on the road and then get to Fairview, there's not a light there. Just kind of shifting.
There's a light just north of this at Prairie, which is just a little bit north of, I think it's maybe off the map. Oh, there it is. So that does already have a light, so they likely would not want a second light that close.
We put a pedestrian crosswalk in.
Possibly. I know that again at Prairie.
I mean,
it is.
You're on there between 7:30 and 9 o'clock and
right.
You're backed up, and the same thing between 4 and 6. They're also especially during the summer months, those are very heavy crossing periods.
Right.
Right. You think about all our camps there. And the park is full from 3 to 6 in warm summer months.
Or even consider putting an underground pedestrian way.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do that much construction, I agree. I've got a red flag with not having a stoplight or stop sign there.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that the entrance would be on Fairview Avenue.
Well, pedestrians would still be able to cross at Prairie where we do have.
I think that would be the intent because that is a lighted intersection with crosswalks. That's I know a lot of the kids come from the church.
Yeah.
And they cross there. Right.
Well, let's talk about more traffic at concentrating.
The new entrance would be the vehicle entrance to the park, right?
Opposed to alternating, I mean, you could offload some of the vehicle traffic to current entrances now, but now you're concentrating both pedestrian and vehicular traffic in one small area.
Correct.
I mean, you're right. There's not a lot. I mean, I walked the park the other day. There's not a lot of usable space to the southeast. I mean, I can see that, but I also don't understand in this graphic how they're gonna because then the parking lot to the south doesn't seem to be that usable.
It becomes a little more difficult, yeah, that you would drive down to the south parking lot. We did talk to them about improving, from the south parking lot, there is a sidewalk that goes up to the pavilion. And right now it's a very steep walkway that is not wheelchair accessible. And we talked to them about maybe making that a better, somehow improving that with whether it's ramps that are that work their way up that could be a more accessible access from that south parking lot, but improving that connection from that south parking lot to the pavilion. I think currently that south parking lot, it doesn't get as much use. Most people are coming to the park either to come to the playground, in which case they park in that north lot, or even if they're coming to the pavilion, it's just a little bit easier to get into it from this north parking lot. And so, if there's a way to improve that connection from the south parking lot into the pavilion.
Well, here's what, I'm sorry. Go ahead. The other question I have is that going to be increasing the water flow as well? I mean, how deep are they gonna go? My question is for the kids, like, if we have an increase in the water flow, would that present a safety issue then?
So I would say the data, like the average flow of water in the creek itself, it would not change.
Okay.
But what happened is, and when you have a big storm, water would pool up and create a pond essentially, temporarily. Could be for a couple of days, potentially, depending on how big the storm was, that the water would pond there for a period of time.
We can
before
have
it could be
a drawdown
And
on that.
we can find that out, what they
The one
expect.
that we have now, those things draw down really fast, like within a day.
This currently floods across, it'll come up to Sheldon and flood out to Fairview Avenue when we get 2-3 inches of rain, but it goes down within 3-4 hours. It's down to where it's just flowing through the creek. However, if you get a significant rain event, that's a whole nother story.
I also think we have pumps. Please go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so with the idea being, like, when it's not ever standing water, but then could it be used for skating?
So that was the other thing we talked about at this meeting. We had asked, when they first approached us about this last year, we said, well, we would love to be able to get ice skating back here if it's possible. And what they told us at this meeting in March was that they like that there are a number of challenges to being able to make that work. They could engineer it so that we could pond the water in the winter to try to do ice skating, but their thought was that given the amount of road, the stream receives a lot of roadway runoff from streets that has a lot of salt in the wintertime, and that given the amount of salt now that's in the water, that it would be harder to get that water to freeze. The way it worked previously was that we would put it, there's like a dam, essentially a weir structure here that we would put a plate in that would dam the creek and cause it to back up. And once it had ponded in here, then there was a valve here that we could open, and there's a pipe that would take it, a bypass essentially, that would take it around the basin for that flow of water. That pipe, there's been more water in that stream over the last decade or so. It's increased the amount of stormwater that come through that creek, and that pipe can't hold it, take all that water anymore. They could engineer it with a bigger pipe, but you still have the possibility that if there's a storm, it still could be more than that pipe could handle, and it would end up coming into your ice skating area. And again, you don't want flowing water within the ice skating area. Prince Pond is a little different because it's not there's not a creek or a stream that flows through Prince Pond. It receives some water from the storm sewers, but generally it's ponded there and it's not moving water. Whereas here you have the potential of water moving water, which makes it much more difficult to freeze. So essentially what they told us at this meeting was that they feel like it would be very difficult to be able to make it work again the way it had in the past.
We were looking at that number of days that we got on now.
Yeah.
And not having the same issues. Things are just, it is warmer. It seems to be warmer. Now it's gonna be real cold next winter since I said that. And it's just not freezing.
I think we have an opportunity to stabilize the bank as well.
Yeah, that, everything to the, is that the south? That looks real sharp. We talked about that too, that we wanted. One of the things that we requested, Paul requested, was that they engage landscape architect. So it's not, engineers engineer things to work. They don't engineer them to look like they're natural. So we wanted to have them engage a landscape architect to assist them to making those slopes look like they belong there and they weren't just dug out.
To make sure that we keep that the park-like character, that the park remains, still appears park-like rather than appearing like a detention basin. It's just
And be conscious of maintenance.
So that was,
Trying to mow those.
yeah, that was one thought with allowing the south, everything south of the creek to be more what we call naturalized native plantings, was that would eliminate the need to try to mow. That way we wouldn't have to try to bring mowers in if this is not turf grass, but rather natural plantings, then we wouldn't have to try to maintain, we wouldn't have to try to mow these areas, which we do now, correct, Kevin? Actually mow this area back here.
We do.
Even though we don't really use it, it's turf grass right now, so we have to mow it periodically. And so that whole south of the creek would not require that regular maintenance. North of the creek would still be turf grass, so it would remain usable park space.
So are you guys thinking about creating south where the former ice rink was, just like a natural prairie habitat?
Essentially, anything south of that creek. I mean, I think they would welcome the opportunity to do that here as well if we did more prairie-like natural landscaping. I think that's a decision we need to make, is if we think we want to be able to use that space for park functions. We don't really today. But
Maybe the last question, I'm just thinking out loud here. With the entrance point on Sheldon Avenue, why couldn't we build a small bridge over the stream bank before the culvert?
so unfortunately, I'll just try to zoom in and see if we can see it a little bit better. The lines are difficult to see in here. Bless you.
The stream currently goes over underneath the road.
Yes, but what you see here is that they are planning to dig out all of this. So the bridge right now is here, it goes over the creek here, but they were going to dig out this entire length of the driveway. You can see this would be the edge of the basin essentially. It would slope down into the basin here. And so you're down low at sort of close to the creek elevation all through here, this whole part. So it would require a bridge across this entire, section, which would be a pretty large structure.
Yeah.
So.
And the trade-off there was making was picking up volume there instead of picking that up on the other side of the creek, which is what we use.
Yeah, we don't want them digging out.
Want them digging that out.
They are gonna dig this part out some, but we don't want it really deep there. We want to be able to still feel like it's naturally part of the rest of the park north of it.
So would you have the rest of the park then drain towards the creek?
It does. All of it today does all drain the creek. It's fairly flat and it is considered floodplain. So even now, when there's a big storm, water will go up over the creek banks and pond in some of these areas. This would just be making it more likely after certain storms to pond.
How often does it go over our entrance? I've seen it once.
Typically, it's usually when we get about 2 to 4 inches of rain.
So it'll go over our entrance.
Or if you get an inch and real quick.
So some good news, I think, originally they were planning for this entire project in 2026, next year. At the meeting in March, they did tell us, the village staff told us that after they've been looking at some budget items, that they're now projecting 2027 or 28. for this project. So we have a little more time to work through some of these things. I do think we would need to make a decision fairly soon if we're not okay with moving the driveway, because they're gonna start developing plans that assume that it's been removed here and they've got that detention available.
Well, I think we need to bring back to them and have them address the safety concerns that the board has expressed in there and see what options they can come up with.
Okay.
Would you have to remove any trees to put that drive in, or is that to go right between?
It's
trees?
maybe one that was pretty close. There was I think a large tree here that I think is.
Those all value trees.
They are, when I did look at it and I thought we might be able to, except that it depends on how much we have to excavate for how much of the tree roots we'd get into. If there's no tree directly in line with what they're proposing. So, but there was one on the sort of to the edge of it that I felt like the tree roots could be impacted.
I'm just more concerned about how, like, when people use that pavilion, you know, they use that area between the street and the pavilion, like a front yard for games.
That's here. Yep.
Is that far enough away? I gotta get my head, is that like 100 feet away or something like that?
It's less than that.
Should walk it.
It's probably 50 feet.
Yeah, it's probably.
You have that walkway that separates.
Yeah, right now there's this walk that goes from the pavilion out to the sidewalk at the street.
Pay attention this summer and see how far out those parties get. I just always thought with that pavilion, I should, like, didn't face the street, like if we're gonna put natural areas in. It opened up into those areas, but that's, you know, whenever that pavilion comes up for needs.
Almost like at that point in time, you should just get rid of the lower parking lot.
I think we need to evaluate how much parking we think we'll need, because the challenge is there's not really an opportunity to expand the north lot. You know, we don't want to push it really any closer to the playground, and when you go east, it drops off already, and they're gonna even dig it out even more off that east edge. So
I lived there for 5 years. Right. Parking lot is utilized, right?
It's usually when they have a larger event gathering. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because camps, most of that's drop off. Correct.
And
We'll go back to the village with the.
One last question, I'm so sorry. Just south of the parking lot, just south of the south parking lot, is that where the culvert is going to start? I don't see those same 3 to 4, black lines.
if you mean like the detention area.
Yeah, the detention
Yeah,
area. That's
yeah.
south of it. Yeah.
It already, I think the reason they didn't draw the lines is that it already slopes down from the parking lot.
Okay.
And so they probably just mean they don't have to excavate it any more right there, because it already kind of drops down.
Okay. So
I
no
think,
impact to the current parking lot.
correct,
Okay,
correct. Yes.
thank you.
Any other questions on board report?
Nothing, parks and facilities.
yeah. Park staff's been busy with opening all the facilities, drinking fountains, getting all the athletic fields prepped and open for the season. We're pretty close to being done with that. I think soccer started last weekend. Baseball's starting to practice. This week we started mowing. This past Tuesday, the forestry staff did a planting at McCollum Park of 20 trees. You'll see primarily up front there by the pavilion, and then in the main front yard there. That was sponsored by Bullet Bourbon with American Forest. The Bullet Bourbon has an initiative to plant 2.5 million trees over 6 years. So they've been working with American Forest and Morton Arboretum in the area to do that. So they reached out to us and helped us plant 20 trees on Tuesday. And then, as Dawn mentioned, we have the volunteer day coming up on April 26th. we're giving away the tree seedlings on the 25th, Friday, at Hummer Park from 8 to 11:30 and O'Brien Park from 12 to 3. We just received those. And then the Arbor Day event is on May 2nd at Constitution Park. And that's at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And then last but not least, on Saturday, the Kathy Mahoney signage was installed. So that's complete for the dedication on the 30th. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions?
The cash level remains stable from February to March. We are pleased with the overall performance of our operating revenues. You'll notice that the charges for service category is coming in $61,000 higher than this time last year. And that's a result of our strong recreation programming, our continued fitness growth, and of course, the golf course opening. Operating expenses are down 1%. Compared to this time last year with no unusual activity happening within the month of March. I know how much you all want to take that audit report home for your reading pleasure. If you do not want to take it home, I'll happily collect it after this meeting. And with that, I will take any questions.
Chris, thank you. Thank you. So in my report, I wanted to go ahead and highlight the waiting room software. Back in March, the summer camp registration was open and we utilized the Q waiting room software to help manage the the high volume of traffic that hit the website. At 9 a.m., I actually put a chart that's in the board report. At 9 a.m., there were 450 residents that were waiting in the room. Within 6 minutes, that dwindled. They all were successfully led into the website to complete registration. And for the rest of the day, we did not run into any issues. And then lastly, I just follow up with a question that was brought up at the previous board meeting, and that was with our new chatbot AI software, whether or not it would lead a person to an actual survey. And it does not do that, but what they can do is that they can put a link on the chatbot that somebody can always go to, like into the survey.
Just want a link to our website.
No, when they open up the chatbot, they would put at the bottom, my understanding is at the bottom, there's 3 buttons that a patron would hit that are like most common questions, like either registration or fees. They would have a 4th button there that says survey. And they would open that and that would just take them to a survey. But what they said right now is that according to them, the logic of it would not narrow a question down to a survey.
Okay. That's something they can build.
I'm sure they are a startup company and they are pretty easy and nice to work with. So whenever we come to them with something, they're very responsive.
That'd be worthwhile asking.
Yeah.
Chris, the only question I have for you, the security cameras in McClellan, was that in response to the incident we had last year with the graffiti that covered that area?
So this was put up inside the building. So yeah, what it is, it captures the entire entry, the gate, the fuel island. So we've added also cameras in the past where people have like broken in, took the gator and crashed it. So
I remember, was it the dugout, Kevin, that we had that graffiti?
It was on the whole east side of the restroom building.
Is that covered now with these new security cameras?
It is. There's 2 cameras out there, right, Chris? Is it 2 or is it 1 360 or so?
there's 2 360s. One of the 360s has a better coverage. The other one's kind of far away. So
And they're activated by motion then?
that's correct.
Okay.
And
Thank
Chris
you.
maintains a list of kind of ranking future cameras when we're gonna put them in and such. And it's often based on either security of patrons and staff, or it's based on known areas where we have a lot of capital or known graffiti.
Yeah, that was bad last year, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Bill, anything from C-Spark?
Nothing.
And
We're gonna need a radio adjourn.
Very
maybe a
quick.
short
Yeah, not to read.
closed session, not to reconvene.
That's chance.
I move to closed session, not to reconvene.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Moore?
Aye.